Professor Mechanical Engineering from Cambridge Institute of Technology, Bangalore. Today I'm going to speak on the topic forging for fourth semester mechanical and derivative. My presentation comprises of introduction to forging, classification of forging, forging equipment and tools, advantages and limitations of forging, various applications of forging, and finally defects in forging. Let us see what we mean by forging. Forging, is an oldest known metalworking processes. It is one of the oldest manufacturing process or metalworking process. In fact, the art of forging techniques dates to at least 4000 BC and earlier. The hot forging of metals all began in the land of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and the Euphrates. However, the very first recorded metal forged by fire and employed by humans was gold. To shape the metal, rock was used as a forging hammer. Forging is a better process because it creates grain structures, eliminates voids, disperses inclusions. It's a process which involves shaping of metal using localized compressive forces. It's a process of plastically deforming metal or alloy to a particular specific shape by a compressive force using some external agency like hammer, press, rolls, dies, etc. worked at elevated temperatures. For example, these are some of the components which are made by forging, like bolts, nuts, nails, cams, crankshaft, connecting rod, spanner, axles, etc. On the left side, you can see a type of forging which is done manually. In fact, forging can broadly be classified into two. One is hand forging, other one is machine forging. Hand forging is a process where forging operation is carried out manually. The lower part we call it as anvil, upon which the workpiece would be kept. The workpiece would be heated to a red hot temperature, and using a hammer will apply a compressive force on the workpiece such a way that the metal can be brought to the required shape as well as cross section. So since operation is done manually, we call it as hand forging. Whereas if the component is of bigger size and if the metal is stronger and as well as harder, then probably it will be very difficult to hand forge the material. So we go in for machine forging where the workpiece would be kept in between the bed as well as the hammer over here, such a way that the compressive force is exerted by the machine itself, such a way that the workpiece can be brought to the desired shape as well as cross section. Why forging is to be carried out? Generally, forging provides better mechanical properties, ductility. It has better fatigue and impact resistance because the process refines and directs the grain flow according to the shape of the workpiece. It provides a higher level of structural integrity than any other metalworking process. In fact, almost all metals, ferrous as well as non-ferrous, can be forged. That's why forging has become a very important part in the manufacturing process. Forging can also be classified broadly into two types. Yet again, we call it as cold forging and hot forging. In fact, there is also warm forging. Cold forging is a process where the workpiece would be at or near room temperature. It doesn't require any thermal, no heat is required. So it doesn't require any thermal energy. So it saves energy. And because it doesn't require any energy and there is no uh, change of shape or size because of thermal energy, we can maintain dimensions. So no shrinking from thermal process would take place. This forging process is ideally suited for high volume orders. So cold forging increases the strength of the metal through strain hardening and at room temperature. But not all materials can be cold forged. Some examples of materials which can be cold forged are wheel hub, unit bearings, transmission gears, tapered roller bearings, razors, stainless steel coupling flanges. There is another type of forging, we call it as warm forging, where the temperature is in between cold and hot forging temperature. In fact, the temperature would be above work hardening temperature and below the temperature at which scale forms. The advantage of this warm forging is of its very good surface quality, precision, material usage, and flexible shapes. Shaping and tolerances are much better. Examples: CV joints, tulips, injector bodies, cylinder heads, and shafts. Another type of forging process would be the hot forging, wherein high temperature or above recrystallization temperature of the material is being used. Hot forging keeps materials from strain hardening at high temperature, which results in optimum yield strength, low hardness, and high ductility. Hard forging can allow easy deformation. Materials which are very strong and hard can be forged at elevated temperature easily. It has a prolonged life of tooling. Examples of hard forging are steering knuckle, steering shaft, steering levers, rear axle, differential cases and covers, crown wheels, pinions, and differential gears. So the picture one on the left side is cold forging, where no heating would take place on the metal. So this is the material upon which the material would be hammered, okay, manually, and the material would be at room temperature. This is called cold forging. Whereas on the other side, the material is heated above recrystallizing temperature, see, red hot temperature, and compressive force is being applied on the metal such a way the material would yield very easily, such a way that the material can be brought to the required shape as well as size very easily. Now the next slide shows the different classification of the forging process. Forging process can be of impression die forging or open die forging or flat forging or Smith forging, and the other one is closed die forging. Under impression die, we have drop forging, press forging, and machine forging. Under open die, we have hand forging as well as power forging. And under power forging, we have power hammer as well as press forging. So these are the classification of the forging which are used in industries. The first one we'll talk about open die forging process. This is a very simple process which is also known as Smith's die forging or flat die forging process. The operation is carried out between two flat dies of very simple shape. One at the bottom, this is the bottom die, other one at the top. And the workpiece would generally be held between the bottom as well as top die. Top die acts as a hammer, wherein the top die inflicts compressive forces on the workpiece such a way that the workpiece would be brought to the required shape as well as size. The workpiece gets reduced in their height plastically and deformed by compression. Open die forgings produce very strong durable parts of big sizes and small number of parts. Here the tooling is very simple. and the process is inexpensive and allows the production of a large variety of shapes. Some of the components made by open die forging are they have bars, rings, blanks, spindles, discs, shells, crankshafts and shafts, and containers for the machine. Next one would be closed die forging process. This is also yet another forging process where the process involves dies which move towards each other and covers the workpiece in whole or in part. This is the lower die and this is the upper die. When these dies close against each other, the workpiece is completely closed. That's why we call it as closed die forging process. In this, metal is deformed under high pressure between the two dies, upper die as well as the lower die, in a closed cavity such a way that the profile of the desired part is achieved. Closed die forging are commonly used where mass production of identical and more complex shapes of greater accuracy are required. The process provides precision forging with close dimensional tolerances. It's normally used for smaller components, but closed dies are highly expensive because dies are very costly to make. Because the dies should have the same profile as that of the forged piece which is to be produced. So some of the components which are made by closed die forging are aeroplane, automobile car parts, heavy trucks, and shipbuilding. We can see the difference between open die and closed die forging processes. What are the advantages of these two and what would be the limitations of these two? Open die forging has better fatigue resistance and improved microstructure. It has a continuous grain flow and finer grain size. It has an increased strength and a longer life. The material wastage is very, very minimal. It has reduced voids and cost savings are there. Whereas closed die would have better internal grain structure formation, which would increase the strength of the product. It's economic only for large production. It has better surface finish. There's no material limitation and absolutely no or very less machining is required. Closed tolerances can easily be achieved in closed die forging processes. But the limitations of these two are under open die forging, closed tolerance cannot be achieved and so precision parts cannot be manufactured. Machining requires accuracies, but it's very difficult to achieve accuracies and desired feature under open die forging process. Whereas in closed die forging, it is not economical for short runs because die costs are much higher and setup costs are very high. Machine and furnaces are very costly and there would be heavy vibrations, so firm provisions are required. So these are the advantages and limitations of open as well as closed die forging processes. There is yet another die forging. We call it as impression die forging. This is nothing but closed die forging process only, where two dies are brought together and the workpiece undergoes plastic deformation until its enlarged sides touch the side walls of the die. Small amount of material begin to flow outside the die impression, forming a flash which gradually thins. The flash cools rapidly and presents increased resistance to deformation and helps build up pressure inside the cavity, right? Such a way that the material flow takes place towards unfilled impressions. So the entire material gets filled within the cavity to the full. So these are some of the components which are manufactured by impression die forging processes. The next type of forging, we call it as drop forging. It is also called as brute force forging process, where a heated steel billet is placed on the lower die mold blocks. So it's the lower die mold blocks, while an overhead die-equipped ram hammer drives or drops down, forcing the metal to fill the contour of the two die blocks using repeated blows. This improves the strength of the metal by proper aligning and stretching of the grain structure. A forged part will normally be stronger than a casting or any other machined piece. Manufacturers use this process to produce strong and durable parts for a range of industries. These are some of the components which are manufactured by drop forging process. This is a wrench, this is a spanner. So some of the components made by drop forging are crankshafts, levers, gears, connecting rods, spanners, pedal cranks, gear blanks, etc. Next, we are going to see hammer forging. This is nothing but a machine forging process where work at high temperature is forged by repeated blows or impacts using an upper die as hammer to get the desired shape and cross section. Power hammer produce greater capacity in which the ram is accelerated on the downward stroke by a steam or air pressure in addition to gravity. So this is the upper die, this is the lower die, okay? You have got the workpiece which is kept in between the upper die and the lower die. In fact, the ram can be lifted up using rollers, and uh, once the workpiece is kept ready over here, you can just drop the hammer gets dropped by gravity. So compressive force is exerted on the workpiece such a way that the workpiece can be brought to the desired shape and cross section by repeated hammering process. After releasing the board, the ram falls under gravity, to produce the blow energy. Forging hammer impacts the workpiece through successive strokes. In fact, the machine forging can use air pressure as well as hydraulic pressure also. So we can just use the high pressure air to lift the ram to the topmost position such that the ram gets lifted up. Then when the air pressure, high pressure is sent this way, that forces the ram to go down, and it blows on the workpiece such a way that the workpiece gets hammered. Thereby, it can be brought to the desired shape and size. Some of the components made by hammer forging are automotive engine components, trucks, engine components, pin components, heavy parts made of steel, nickel-based alloys, as well as titanium. There is another type of forging called press forging process. It is a process of applying progressive pressure to the die, clamping the workpiece. So this is the workpiece which is clamped in between the lower die and the upper die. The process is shaping of the metal that is placed between these two dies by applying mechanical or hydraulic pressure. Usually done on the forging press. It's a machine that applies gradual pressure on the forging dies. Press forging can adopt hot forging or cold forging process. It is suitable for high volume productivity of forgings. The process increases the length of the workpiece and reduces the cross-section of the workpiece. Both hydraulic presses, heavy work, and mechanical presses for light work are employed for press forging operations. The next one is the upset forging process. This is yet another typical forging process where manufacturing is done because of plastically deformation of metal taking place under great pressure into high strength components of varying sizes. It is ideal for longer shapes where only one end of the part needs to be forged. For example, this is a cylindrical portion where you have to make it as something like a bolt. So compressive force is applied only at this end. The head portion would be intact, and we have a stopper at the other end which restricts the movement of this workpiece over here. So it increases the diameter of the workpiece by compressing its length. You can make a lengthy component, or you can decrease the diameter and increase the length. Based on the number of pieces produced, is the most widely used forging process. So these are the different kinds of steps involved in the upset forging process. This is a cylindrical process. So using a die of that shape, you can just make a conical head or something like a hexagonal head or something like that. Okay. So this is a typical forging process. Example of this forging are engine balls, couplings, bolts, screws, fasteners, etc. These are some of the forging equipment and tools. In fact, students would have used these tools, okay, in their foundry labs. But these are some of the forging equipment and tools used in the forging industry. The main thing would be the furnace with chimney, where you would be heating the metal or the material to red hot temperature. So it's a heat source. And chimney is used to take away all the toxic gases, okay, to the atmosphere. And for easy burning, for easy combustion, we'll be using air blower, which supplies air such a way the burning would be efficient. This equipment or tool, we call it as poker. Poker is nothing but a small rod with a sharp front portion, which is used to strike the fire. And poker is made of mild steel, because we have to change the workpiece, its position, or we may have to uh, make the metal piece which is kept in the fire upside down. So all these things can easily be done using a small tool. It's just like a bent rod. We call it as poker. Next one is anvil. Anvil is something like a work table. It's made of cast iron. It can also be forged. So this is anvil, upon which the workpiece would be kept and compressive forces would be exerted on the workpiece. So this is mostly available in all the forging shops as well as in the colleges where forging lab is there. Next one would be the swage block. This is the swage block. This has got different holes of different sizes. So swage block is a tool where operations not limited to bending, cutting, punching, and forming can take place. The through holes are of various shapes and sizes, which are used to hold, support, and back up a hard bar of metal for further shaping. Chisel, this is a sharp tool which is used to cut a material to pieces. Next one is the tong. This is a holding device where using these tongs, you'll be holding the workpiece rigidly such way that the workpiece can be hammered. Next one is fullers. Fullers are nothing but it's a metalworking tool where it is used to form metal when hot. Maybe we can make sharp, rounded, parabolic shapes easily using the fuller. So this is something like a fuller. So sharp edge. If you want to make a sharp groove to be cut on the metal, you can keep the hot metal on the anvil. Using this fuller tool, you strike the hot metal such a way that the profile what we have on the fuller can be obtained on the workpiece. Next one would be the punches, where the workpiece can be a punch can make a mark. We can make a marking over the workpiece. Next one would be the file. This is just to file the workpiece to the desired shape and surface finish. Next one would be the flatters. Flatters is nothing but a flat hammer, such a way that we can make the workpiece flatter. Hammers are tools which are used manually for exerting a compressive force on the metal. It could be cold or hot. We also have forging presses. This machine using which we can forge the component to the desired shape and size. And forging dies are very important component because the forging dies, we have two dies, upper die and the lower die, where when the dies are closed, the internal cavity which is formed, okay, would take the shape of, would have the shape of the final shape to be attained on the workpiece. So the workpiece would be kept in between the forging dies, and from the top die you exert a compressive pressure on the workpiece such a way that when both the dies close, okay, the material gets squeezed and fill up the contour of the die, inner contour of the die, so that you can bring the workpiece to the desired shape and size. So these are some of the tools which are used in forging practice. What are the advantages and limitations of forging? Forging, as you know, is highly advantageous for various reasons. In fact, parts which are manufactured by forging are very strong as well as tougher. The fatigue strength and creep resistance of forged products are much higher. It is more reliable and less costly. Sometimes forging can also be faster than other processes like casting or machining process. It offers better response to heat treatment. It offers more consistent and better mechanical and metallurgical properties. It offers broad size range of products and varieties of shapes. It has greater design flexibility and the cost of operation is very low. But it also has some limitations. In hard forging, it is difficult to perform secondary operations. Initial cost or capital cost is higher. Man and material safety procedures have to be followed because you are working at hot temperature and also heavy force is being used on the metal to make it to the desired shape and size. There will be material scatter also. So we'll have to hide safety measures have to be followed. It cannot produce complex shapes. Size is limited due to size of the press. And one major limitation is only ductile material can be forged. Brittle material cannot be forged. What are the applications of forging? Forging can be applied in almost all industries, starting from mechanical industry, automobile industry, aerospace industry, just name any industry. Wherever manufacturing is applied, forging could be applied in those industries. For example, it has wider application in mechanical industry, in automobile industry, in aerospace industry, in making of hand tools as well as various hardware components, in machinery and equipment, in defense equipment, valves and fittings, crankshaft, camshaft, shipbuilding. So this is the figure which depicts some of the components made in the shipbuilding industries. This is the crankshaft which is used in a ship. This is a marine shaft, which is lengthy shaft used in shipbuilding. So these components are forged. So smaller to bigger or heavier objects can easily be forged. Of course, we require machineries for forging operations. Trucks, agricultural machineries, turbine rotor, generator rotor, cycle industries, and simple day-to-day components like bolts, nuts, spanners, etc. So these are some of the components, okay, which one can manufacture in bigger industries like shafts, propeller, crankshaft, marine shaft, rudder spindles, swing rings, pipe forgings, cases, walls, barrels, pistons, jars, etc. Though forging is very advantageous, forging also gives rise to certain defects. If proper care is not taken, if forging practices are not adopted properly, then defects are bound to happen. These are some of the defects, right, which would take place in forging process. Okay, first one would be the unfilled section. What is an unfilled section? Some portion in the metal would be left unfilled due to poor design as well as heating, or it could be less raw material or poor forging technique. So there will be some vacancy in the metal that we call it as unfilled section. That is a major defect. Next one is cold shed. Cold shed is nothing but small cracks. See, small cracks do appear at corner of the forging. This defect is due to improper design of the die itself. Next one would be scale pits. These are the scale pits you can see on the surface. This is seen as the irregular deputations on the surface of the forging. This is primarily due to improper cleaning of the stock used for forging. If forging material, raw material is not cleaned properly, then the formation of scales, scales are nothing but oxide layers formed on the surface, could happen. Next one is flakes. Flakes are nothing but appearance of small shiny spots or internal ruptures. You can see the ruptures over here, or a fractured surface due to improper cooling of forging. Die shift is another defect which is caused by misalignment of upper die and lower die. Both the dies have to be aligned properly, otherwise misalignment would take place and the forged component would be of different dimension. Dimension accuracy cannot be obtained. Improper grain growth. This is another major defect caused by improper flow of metal which changes the predefined grain of the product structure. It can only be avoided with proper designing of die. Next one would be incomplete penetration. This defect arises due to light or rapid hammer blow, which can be removed by proper control on the forging press. If hammering is too much or too low, then the penetration would be incomplete. Next one would be the surface cracking. This is another major defect which occurs due to excessive working on the surface at low temperature. In this defect, many cracks do arise on the workpiece. So these are some of the forging defects which normally do take place, okay, on forged components. But all these forging defects could be avoided or could be minimized by adopting proper forging techniques. Right? So this completes the topic on forging. So thank you all. Thank you.